Okay, let's talk about the story of a mobile app that was once, well, an absolute titan. This browser basically defined what the internet was for hundreds of millions of people, but its journey is this wild mix of incredible success and some really serious controversy.
And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, according to the analytics firm App Annie, UC Browser was the 8th most downloaded mobile app of the entire 2010 to 2019 decade. Not just browsers, we're talking of all apps. That puts it right up there with the giants we all use every day.
And that's really the big question here, isn't it? How does an app that popular go from being a household name to being banned by a government because it's a threat to national sovereignty? It's a crazy story.
To really understand the fall, you first have to appreciate the incredible rise. For a long time, UC Browser wasn't just a big deal. It was totally dominant.
So this browser was developed by UC Web, which is a part of the Chinese tech giant Alibaba. And the numbers it reached are just staggering. It launched way back in 2004 and eventually got over 1 billion total users. Think about that. By 2016, it had over 100 million people using it every single month in India alone. It was an absolute powerhouse in some of the world's biggest and fastest growing markets.
So, the key thing to understand is why it got so popular. In places like India and Indonesia, a lot of people had phones with pretty limited storage, and they were on data plans that were expensive or slow. UC Browser was a complete game changer. Its app size was small, and its data-saving features were amazing, which made it the go-to choice for an entire generation getting online for the first time.
So let's look at what they were actually promising people. I mean, how did they sell this thing to 1 billion users? Well, the appeal was all about performance and a whole bunch of features. The main promise was simple: speed. It promised that web pages would load way faster, and it had this really powerful download manager that could even pick up where it left off if your connection dropped. That's a huge deal if you're on a shaky network.
It also came with ad blocking built right in. You know, at a time when the internet was getting more and more cluttered with pop-ups and banners, this offered a much cleaner, less annoying experience right out of the box.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. They actually marketed the browser as a tool for privacy. They even highlighted a built-in VPN to keep your browsing secure. Just remember this point. Tuck it away because it's going to become super important in a minute.
And as if all that wasn't enough, they throw in a massive 20 gigabytes of free cloud storage for backing up your files. I mean, the whole package was just almost impossible to resist.
This user review really just sums it up perfectly. People didn't see it as just another tool. It felt like the fastest, most powerful option out there, the Bugatti of browsers.
The secret sauce behind all that speed and data saving was a technology called data compression. So instead of your phone downloading a full, heavy web page directly, the request would first go to UC Web servers. They'd shrink the page down, make it smaller, and then send that lighter version to your phone.
And here's where the story takes a sharp turn. All that convenience, it came with a catch. This really cool feature created a very specific pathway for your data to travel, and with it, some really serious potential risks.
Let's just break this down. Take a look at step 2. Every single thing you do on the browser, every website you visit, every single search, it first travels through servers owned by the company. This means the company is sitting right in the middle of your connection to the internet.
And that architecture, well, it opened the door to a decade of privacy and security nightmares, turning the browser's biggest selling point into its biggest problem.
Look, this wasn't just one mistake. It was a clear pattern. Back in 2015, documents from Edward Snowden showed that intelligence agencies like the NSA were specifically targeting UC Browser as a weak point to hack into phones. That same year, a huge report from Citizen Lab found it was leaking tons of sensitive data. Then, an Indian government agency found it was sending user data to servers in China. And in 2019, a security firm found it was downloading new pieces of code in an insecure way, basically opening users up to attacks.
I mean, the difference between the marketing and what researchers found is just jarring. That promise to safeguard your privacy clashed with the reality that it was leaking user and device IDs. The promise of secure browsing was completely undermined by it sending your search history in plain text. And the whole idea of data protection just feels empty when you find out that data is being sent to servers in another country.
And let's be clear, we are not talking about anonymous data here. The information that security reports found was being leaked was incredibly personal and specific. Things like your phone's IMSI and IMEI numbers, which uniquely identify your SIM card and the phone itself,
your Android ID, your MAC address, and even your precise location data. This is the kind of stuff that can be used to track a specific person's every move.
So, with this constant drumbeat of terrible security news, the consequences were, well, they were inevitable. People's trust just vanished, and they started looking for other options.
And the collapse was absolutely staggering. In India, one of its biggest markets, UC Browser went from having a massive 46% of the market down to just over 4% in less than 4 years. That's not a drop, that's a free fall.
The final nail in the coffin came in 2020. Amid rising tensions between India and China, the Indian government just straight up banned UC Browser, along with dozens of other Chinese apps. The official reason they gave cited all those data and privacy issues we've been talking about, framing the app as a genuine national security risk.
So what's the big picture lesson here? The story of UC Browser isn't really just about one app. It's a powerful, cautionary tale for all of us living in this digital age.
There are a few really important takeaways. First, you know that old saying, if it's free, you're the product? Well, it's often true. You're paying with your data. Second, convenience can be a double-edged sword. That amazing data-saving feature also created a giant security hole. This story also shows why independent researchers are so important for keeping these big companies honest. And finally, it's a reminder that the apps on our phones don't exist in a bubble. Global politics can absolutely affect our digital lives.
And all of this leaves us with one last question to think about. As you download and use the apps on your own phone, it's worth asking yourself, when this service is completely free, what is the price I'm actually paying? What part of my privacy or my security am I trading for its features?